Hello, everybody. Dr. Ann Auburn here, owner and founder of the Natural Health Improvement Center in Grandville, Michigan. Tonight, I'm going to be talking to you about holistically healing your gut. Many of our patients come to us with gut issues. It's a very, very common issue, especially if people don't have the best diets or they're stressed. There's many underlying causes, and the gut is very crucial, as you will find out, to all of your health. So let's get started. All right. I just want to give you a little quote from Sushruta Samhita, 6th century BC. A person whose basic emotional and physical tendencies are in balance, whose digestive power is balanced, whose bodily issues, elimination functions, and activities are in balance, and whose mind, senses, and soul are filled with vitality, that person is said to be healthy. So that's what we aim to achieve at the Natural Health Improvement Center. We want you to be your optimal self. So let's start with looking more at the gut, a very important part, even back in the 6th century. All right. A common scenario is a person that will have some kind of discomfort, abdominal bloating or gas. They might need antacids once in a while, and they'll see some commercials at dinner time news programs, and they'll think, oh, yeah, I need to get some of those. That'll help me. And if they don't work, it's off to the physician for a visit, and maybe a prescription. You might get omeprazole, Prilosec, Nexium, or some next generation acid blocker. But in the back of your mind, you think, I do need stomach acid. Why am I blocking it all? Could this have side effects? It is medication. And there may be a discussion of diet and information given or foods to avoid listed out for you, but sometimes that never happens either. But we know that the most common side effects of some of these antacids are headaches, diarrhea, abdominal pain, not to mention maldigestion, malabsorption, bone mineral loss, dental bone loss. That's a question. Remember, when you go to the dentist, have you been on any kind of a acid blocker or a bisphosphonate, which is another drug for bones? And also, it can lead to vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So maybe we need to rethink this treatment protocol. Then the saga continues: diarrhea or constipation, or loose bowel movements. You might try Imodium, Pepto-Bismol, Citracel, Fibercon, a stool softener, and you look at these labels and think, wow, why is there red dye number 40 or blue lake, whatever? And you think, I wonder if that corn derivative is GMO. Yeah, a lot of questions might come up into your mind when you're using these over-the-counter medications. But somewhere along the line, the patient realizes that a certain food may exacerbate the problem, and they begin to avoid those foods or become afraid to eat even. Sometimes it's difficult in social situations. Some patients are afraid to leave the house, and when they do, they have to know every bathroom between their home and their destination, and anxiety and depression creep in. And if there's pain, they may try other pain medications over the counter, which have a whole nother set of problems for your kidneys and your stomach lining. Then it's off to the gastroenterologist. Since none of these over-the-counter meds worked, then maybe some dietary changes or a different prescription might work. So the gastroenterologist goes through a series of tests, possibly a colonoscopy, an endoscopy, where they look down your throat, a barium enema, or a HIDA scan, or sometimes MRIs or CAT scans or ultrasounds. After the large workup, the specialist often will walk into the room and proudly announce that all the tests are negative and that there's nothing wrong except for you have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and you're going to have to learn to live with it. It's never going to go away. But in the back of the mind, the patient knows there's something not right about this. Oh, and don't forget the gallbladder. Yes, often the gallbladder is to blame or thought to be to blame. And if there's any inflammation there or pain in your right upper quadrant of your abdomen or pain into the right shoulder blade, maybe that is something that needs to come out. Or if you have a gallbladder attack, immediately, yes, it has to be taken out. Maybe that's the right thing to do, maybe not. But it is an organ that has a function. It does help digest fatty foods efficiently, but Then you decide, oh, well, I better try it. The doctor said it's the thing to do. So you have your gallbladder taken out. But this may actually increase pain, increase gas, and increase bloating. And I'm not saying that, you never should have your gallbladder taken out. There are situations where they're infected, there's a stone stuck in the bile duct, and it's dangerous to leave it there. So, there is a time and place for that. But many times it's done way too early. So, is this all in the patient's head? More time goes by and the patient tries to cope as best they can. But then many patients have more remaining surprises, especially if they're a woman. Continued visits to the physician, and the same complaints are happening over and over again. Then all of a sudden, the patient is given a prescription for an antidepressant or an anti anxiety drug. Oh, and that has a whole nother set of problems, and it unbalances many of the other neurochemicals in your nervous system and has side effects eventually. Is that really what is needed? Well, stress is definitely a factor in gastrointestinal issues, but this is not truly getting to the root of the problem. That's what we do at the Natural Health Improvement Center. We look for root cause. So let's look a little bit deeper here. Sugar, our good friend sugar. Did you know that an average American eats 34 teaspoons of sugars a day, equal to 500 calories? Well, this may be in different forms, not just the white stuff, but it averages more than 100 pounds of sugar per person per year. That equals 1,163 12-ounce sodas. Yuck. Sugar intake has drastically increased over the last 2 centuries. In 1822, the average American ate 2 teaspoons of sugar. In 5 days, this would be the amount of sugar found in one of today's 12-ounce sodas, which is 10 teaspoons or 39 grams of sugar. In 1 year, this would only be 6.28 pounds. Wow, what a difference. That means we eat 16 times more sugar than we did 200 years ago. Very sad, and it's making us very sick. So, diet and lifestyle. Americans have consumed 281 million pounds of sugar in 2005, and I'm sure those numbers are going higher. I'm learning lots of interesting facts in the book I'm reading right now called Good Energy by Casey Means, MD, and her brother, Callie Means, JD, who were in the traditional medical world, and Callie was in the lobbying world for the pharmaceutical and food industry. And boy, oh boy, do they have some facts, many more than I'm going to tell you here tonight. You need to read that book, Good Energy. And 110 million Americans regularly consume NSAIDs. NSAIDs are non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So those are things like aspirin, Aleve, Motrin, ibuprofen, and Advil. Those are the same as Motrin. And other, medications that are pain relieving. So more diet and lifestyle stuff. 21% of Americans routinely binge drink, which is terrible for you also. It's very bad for your nervous system, very bad for your cells, very bad for your gut. 70% of bacteria that cause infections in hospitals are resistant to at least one type of antibiotic. So there's many things going on under the surface. So let's look at what our population is like in America. And these are pretty recent facts that I pulled up, 2017 to 2018. There are 30.7% men and women who are overweight in America. And obesity, including severe obesity, 42.4%, and severe obesity, 9.2%. And you can see the difference between men and women there. It kind of changes with the different levels, but this means nearly 1 in 3 adults are overweight, and more than 1 in 3 men and more than 1 in 4 women are overweight. That's a high percentage. And this is way worse than it is in any other country, and way worse than it is or was 50 to 100 to 200 years ago. And about 1 in 11 adults have severe obesity. That's still pretty high too. So let's see how we can make a change in this. We're trying to make a change at our clinic. We're doing lots of neat things, helping our patients one-on-one and doing some things with groups to change this trend. And we really need to do it, or we're going to start having more and more disease, even worse than we have now, and our children aren't going to live as long as we do. So, gut health and weight loss. The link between gut health and body weight has received a lot of attention. Research has shown that people with obesity have less diversity in their gut microbiome, and certain specific bacteria have been linked to obesity. In animal studies, they transplanted gut microbes from obese mice to what they call germ-free mice, and it led those germ-free mice to gain weight. So there is something about the microbiome that means there is something about your gut, and there is something about your diet that affects this. All right, so basically the bottom line is you want a wide variety of microbes in your gut, especially in the lower gut, your colon. This is called microbiome diversity, and we have many ways to do this at the clinic. And these good bacteria feast on fiber from the food you eat and turn it into substances your body needs. Those substances keep the gut cells healthy and send signals all over the body. It's amazing the effect that the gut has on the rest of the body. And if you have an unhealthy gut, it has a bad effect on many other places in the body that you'd never imagine. Gut health influences mental health, weight, blood sugar, liver inflammation levels, long-term brain health, and more. And the incidence of non-alcoholic fatty liver in younger and younger people is going up by the year. It's incredible how many younger people have this problem. So if you don't have enough gut microbes, or if you have too many of the wrong kinds, it influences those signals, and this leads to the health problems. Over the last 20 years, research has linked problems in the gut microbiome to a wide variety of conditions, including inflammatory bowel disease, which we mentioned earlier, autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis? That has something to do with the gut? Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, and then you've heard of the metabolic ones like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, asthma, even autism and other mental health issues. The gut is the cornerstone of optimal health. So we want to feed your microbiome to make your own GLP-1s for weight loss. You know, you're reading all about these injectable weight loss drugs right now, and we do use them at our clinic because some people are just stuck and they need help getting unstuck. But you know what? When I write those prescriptions, I write them and I tell the patient, you know what? You need to change your eating habits. You need to use this as an opportunity to get your lifestyle together. Exercise, diet, get the sugar out, get the white stuff out, get the flour out, get all the processed food out. While this medication is making you have less of an appetite, use this opportunity to start eating smaller portions, moving the body more, taking care of your body, and putting clean food in your body. If you don't do that, I really don't want to write you the prescription, okay? Sometimes you do need a little bit of a nudge, but if you don't make these changes and you do the medication, you're just going to go right back to square one again after you stop the medication. And that's why so many of these studies out there say that you gain the weight right back when you stop the medication. Well, yeah, you do. If you lost the weight on junk food, you're going to go back and you're going to gain the weight again. So let's see how we can make our own GLP-1s and make this work naturally instead of having to take the drug. So the lower part of your gut makes hormones that tell the entire gut to slow down and help orchestrate metabolism and appetite, and among them is GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, a hormone that helps regulate blood sugar, digestion, and appetite. The drugs use a synthetic version, semaglutide or tirzepatide, to trigger the same effect. According to Chris Dahman, MD, a gastroenterologist at University of Washington, you can stimulate your gut to make those helpful hormones with the food you eat by giving your microbes the right fuel. And guess what those are? Fiber and polyphenols from whole foods. That's real food, food that you buy on the outside of the grocery store, the perimeter of the grocery store, not in those boxes of macaroni and cheese that we should never be eating. Okay? So let's look a little closer at this. What are polyphenols anyway? We'll get into that in a second. Anyway, GLP-1 is another hormone showing why the paleo diet is such an effective diet for weight loss and metabolic health. Now, there's different diets. I'm not saying the paleo diet is the only diet, but The paleo diet is something that most people can do. It's not too restrictive. It's something you can do for a lifetime. It's kind of like how the caveman used to eat because they had to forage for their food, right? But you can take this and you can turn it into any other healthy whole food diet, and you would probably get the same results. I'm just using paleo diet as an example because most people could do it. So GLP-1 is basically insulin's boss. It's a hormone produced in the gut that regulates insulin secretion. When blood sugar is high, GLP-1 stimulates beta cells in the pancreas to produce insulin. GLP-1 also reduces appetite and slows the passage of food out of the stomach. You've heard all the ads. This is exactly what the medication does, okay? But you can do it with food, making you less hungry after a big meal. I've told many people about the book Glucose Revolution by Jessie and Shaspe. She basically figured out when she had pain after a back surgery that it was the sugar and the carbs that were making her have pain and inflammation. So she went on a diet where she ate vegetables first, then she ate her proteins with some vegetables and fats and things like that. And then last in her meal, if she was going to have it, she would have a small amount of carbohydrate. And doing that, if you're going to, start out trying to make small changes, this is a great way to do it because then you'll have less of a blood sugar spike, less of an insulin spike because your body wants to get that sugar in your cells, and that will make you lose weight or even at least stabilize your weight, okay? As long as you're not eating huge portions. So that's another really good book, Glucose Revolution. But paleo eating, back to that, with lots of veggies, improves insulin and GLP-1 function and lets your healthy hormones regulate appetite, blood sugar, energy, and weight loss. So this is what we want eventually. We don't want people on drugs forever. We want them to, if they need the drug, change their habits and then apply this for the rest of their life so they can maintain their weight loss. And we want them to feel good too. So the paleo diet, what to eat. And, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can take these proteins out and you can just put vegetarian proteins in so it can work for you guys too. But make sure your meat is grass-fed beef or pork. Your fowl is chicken or turkey that has been raised in a manner that they're not fed GMO soy or corn or antibiotic-laden feed. I usually recommend Amish chickens or uh, pasture-raised chicken or organic. Fish and seafood, Vital Choice is a great place to go for that type. If you want your meat, chicken, turkey, beef, pork, and stuff from a nice source, Butcher Box is a good one. Eggs are a good source of protein and good fats. And yes, lots of vegetables. You want to eat a lot of vegetables, including green leafy vegetables, root vegetables, and tubers. Good fats like coconut oil, lard, tallow, olive oil, butter, ghee, avocado. And again, those animal sources, if you're vegetarian, vegan, or you don't like them, or you're trying to go lower fat, you can leave those out. But some limited dairy as well is okay. And then fruits in moderation, we want to stick to maybe just a couple a day and make a lot of those berries because berries are lower on the sugar index. And nuts and seeds, again, with moderation, because those are very high in calories, very calorie dense. In fact, I've seen a lot of women that couldn't lose weight because they were just eating so many nuts and seeds, and the calories are just going up and up and up and up, and you still have to watch the calories to some degree. And then your herbs and spices are going to give you a lot of, polyphenols, those good things that feed your gut microbiome. That's one of the highest sources of polyphenols, so try to vary your spices and try new ones. So again, paleo diet, what to avoid. You would avoid sugar, of course, and that's sugar of all kinds. We're talking sugar in agave, sugar in maple syrup, sugar in even honey. You could have a tiny bit here and there when you're on maintenance, but you don't want those things on a regular basis or in large amounts, or it's just going to defeat the purpose of the whole diet. And then, of course, straight sugar, brown sugar, coconut sugar. It doesn't matter where the sugar source comes from. It's a carbohydrate, and some digest faster or slower into sugar in the bloodstream, but sugar is out in this kind of diet, or if you want to lose weight or you want your gut to feel better. And then grains. We want to get away from the grains, at least for a time. And then if you want to do small amounts later by applying those principles I mentioned in the book Glucose Revolution. But for now, get away from wheat, especially also corn, oats, rice, millet, amaranth, etc. Anything that's made from a flour. And then if you must have a grain, do a very small amount and eat it in its whole form. Anything that's ground into a flour and then made into something like a cookie or a muffin or something, it's just going to be too high in the glycemic index. Okay, and then you got your legumes. You don't want to do too many of those when you're on the paleo diet, but again, this is something you could probably add back in small amounts later. And then definitely avoid the seed oils. They're very pro-inflammatory. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. They're super heavily processed. And in the process, they're changed. And also, they just cause lots and lots of inflammation. All right, so let's feed the microbiome with the 4 F's: fiber, phenols for polyphenols, fermented foods, and healthy fats. So let's look at those. Fiber, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Again, at the beginning, if you're doing a paleo diet or if you're wanting to lose weight, you want to get away from the grains. Nuts and beans. And then the beans, if you're not doing paleo, that's fine. If you're more vegetarian, that would be something you would want to put in there. And even on paleo later on, you can do a little bit of this here and there. Your body can't digest the fiber while it's in the upper parts of the GI tract, so it passes through to your lower gut where the healthy bacteria ferment it, and that produces short chain fatty acids. And this sends signals throughout the body, including fullness and lowered appetite. So fiber is super important. Okay, then we have polyphenols or phenols, the second F. And you want to eat like the rainbow, especially things that are red or purple or blue. And then things like organic soybeans, non-GMO, flaxseed, cloves, various spices, dark chocolate that's not super duper sweet, and things like that. All of these have polyphenols in them, and this feeds your gut microbes and keeps your gut healthy. All right, fermented foods. When's the last time you ate fermented food? Sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, yogurt, miso, tempeh, kombucha. Watch out on the kombucha, though. A lot of those have a lot of sugar in them. Try and get the ones like Kavita that does not have a lot of sugar. But fermentation can make the polyphenols in foods more accessible to your body. Plus, each mouthful introduces good bacteria into your gut. All right, and healthy fats. Omega-3 fatty acids, those are found in fatty fish, sardines, mackerel, etc., salmon, wild-caught Pacific salmon. Some nuts and seeds, like hemp, chia, uh, gosh, what are the other ones? Walnuts, uh, I'm sure there's more. Flax seeds, that's another one. Anyways, these decrease inflammation in the lining of the gut, so they're very, very helpful. Plus, these healthy fat sources like extra virgin olive oil and avocados are full of phenols as well. So healthy fats, and coconut oil is a good fat for you too. Even the fats in eggs can be good for you if you're not allergic to them. Even some of the grass-fed butter or grass-fed cheeses, those can be good as well, but those, of course, in moderation. So, bottom line with all of this is a healthy gut is an ecological system in balance. Life forms are balanced between beneficial bacteria, nutrients, enzymes, detoxifiers, bad bacteria, yeast, parasites, and waste products. So all of this helps the microvilli to stay healthy for excellent absorption. Microvilli are the little projections that go up and down. They're microscopic. You can kind of barely see them in this picture here, but there's millions and millions of them in your gut. And, if it was all spread out and flattened out, it would be the size of a couple tennis courts. It's a lot of space for absorption. That's how it was designed. So, and the gut is special also because it has associated lymphatic tissue. We call it GALT, Research gastroenterologists have observed that 60 to 70% of the immune system is located in the gut due to the large amount of lymphatic tissue in this area. So, by the way, where do you think most of your serotonin is created? In the gut. This is the gut-brain connection. And how do these two things talk? They talk through the lymphatic system and the vascular system that's lining the outside of the gut. So we want to keep that gut healthy so that the gut and brain are communicating together well. Again, more than half of the immune system's in the gut, and because that's where it has to be defend the body over a lifetime of ingesting 25 tons of food items or foreigners from the external environment. The gastrointestinal immune system, that's the lymphatic system surrounding the GI tract, is the soldier guarding the gastrointestinal barrier, and it's being alert to the arrival of anything that might cause harm. This system catches the harmful substances before they create damage, and most of the time it can just make them harmless. But intestinal health can be under attack. You can get dysbiosis, bad gut balance, ecological imbalance in the gut, when you get subtle shifts in all these different populations of bacteria that are in the different areas of the gut. So let's look a little bit more into that. So probiotics, what are they? Probiotics are introduced into the gastrointestinal tract after birth. Actually, if it's a vaginal birth, it's through the birth canal. And the most important friendly bacteria are Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacteria bifidum. Other lactobacilli become established in the human intestine through contact with the world. Now, there's lots of other really good bacteria like Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes and some of our other butyrate producers. We need butyrate because butyrate's anti-inflammatory to the gut and it supplies energy to the cells of the gut. But we're not going to get into all those details here. We do have tests that do test those in our patients when we just can't get to the bottom of things. We'll do a stool analysis and find out about some of these other good bacteria and if they're in the right populations or if there is an infection or an overgrowth or some difficulty with digestion, and then we can fix it. So how do probiotics promote GI and overall health? Well, they inhibit the growth of other organisms through competition for nutrients. They alter the pH and oxygen levels so it makes it less favorable to the bad guys. And prevention of attachment of pathogens by just physically being there. And production of antibiotic-like factors. Yes, your probiotics, they're not antibiotics, but they have antibiotic-like factors, so they help keep the gut clean and balanced. All right, so consequences of dysbiosis or gut out of balance: loss of good bacteria and the array of benefits associated with their fermentation byproducts. So loss of vitamin production, loss of detoxification function, loss of protection from chemical and antibiotic exposure, overgrowth with harmful species, decreasing immunity, increasing cellular inflammation, and yes, chronic disease. So this is why it's so important to eat healthy and control your stress levels, move the body, not eat junky food, eat food that gives you life and sustains life and improves life, and it'll affect every part of your body positively. And again, please read this book, Good Energy by Casey and Callie Means. I can't tell you how motivating that book is to know what our diet is doing to us. And also, there's an empowerment plan in that book, an action plan to get you eating the right food and get rid of all the junky food in your diet. So dysbiosis symptoms, sometimes it's just all gut stuff: nausea, belching, bloating, heartburn, flatulence, abdominal pain, cramping, abdominal distension, depression, anxiety. Yes, depression and anxiety, not just because you feel bad, but because you're not making the serotonin like you used to because your gut is all messed up. Okay? We can take care of that. That's why I get so upset about doctors just throwing antidepressants and anti-anxietals at patients. They need to go deeper and heal their gut and give them nutrition to help them make the neurotransmitters they need. not just give them a medication. Altered bowel function, constipation, diarrhea, etc., hypersecretion of colonic mucus, even bad breath. And sometimes dysbiosis just presents as fatigue. If you're fatigued and you can't find any other reason for it, and sometimes you get heartburn, or sometimes you feel bloated, or certain foods you don't do well with, or if you're eating a fair amount of sugar or you're addicted to sugar, you really should consider getting a stool analysis or doing our food sensitivity testing to see how we can help you figure that out and get back on course. So, what can cause dysbiosis? Well, diet, obviously, because we've talked so much about that, but antibiotics, especially if you use a lot of them, especially if you don't take probiotics after you use antibiotics. Um, Other exogenous agents, things outside the body, like bad food, like we've been talking about, viruses, parasites, protozoa. These can all be tested as well. Heavy metal toxins, alcohol use or abuse, medications, as we've talked about previously, the standard American diet, the things that are pushed on the commercials all the time: pizza, subs, processed food, junk food, fried food, all these fast foods that are just screaming inflammation into the bodies of the people that eat them. Um, Free radicals from all of this stuff: stress, low stomach acid, low enzymes, lack of bile production, lack of good gallbladder, food sensitivities or allergies, dysbiosis, as we've talked about, uh, travel, food, water, bacteria, things you might run into, and extreme altitude, maybe getting a little low on oxygen or getting really, really sick and your oxygen level going down, things like that. Okay, so potential causes of irritable bowel syndrome, a very, very common syndrome that we see a lot in our office. Specific food intolerances present in 48% of patients with diarrhea and pain. This provokes IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And look at there, wheat is at the very top of the list. Milk is next. Okay, sugar's not on here, but sugar is just a culprit way, deeper than these things too. But cheese, even oats, coffee, rye, eggs, tea, butter, yogurt, citrus, barley. A lot of these are gluten containing grains, some nuts and preservatives, and even chocolate. All right, so leaky gut syndrome. So, what is that really? It's when the intestines are not providing adequate barrier function. It's kind of like your skin, but on the inside. And now, the cells aren't packed together the way they should be in the gut wall. So then there's little microscopic cracks. And in those microscopic cracks, partially digested food, toxins, things that are supposed to be bound and taken out of the body with the feces or through other mechanisms in the liver and then through the kidneys, they leak back into the lymphatic system, the vascular system, and then your body has to process it all over again. And this can cause problems other places in the body because it causes a systemic inflammatory state. So, inflammation and leaky gut. By calming gastrointestinal inflammation and supporting the repair of leaky gut, nutritional supplements can help to calm systemic inflammation and inflammation in non gastrointestinal tissues like lungs, joints, skin, brain, etc., fatty livers, things like that. They're actually now talking not just about leaky gut, but leaky blood brain barrier. Why do you think so many people are getting Alzheimer's these days? Okay. And also they're talking about leaky liver barrier. Okay. So these toxins and sugars and things and all this inflammation is causing way more issues than you think. And you're not feeling a lot of it right away. You don't feel plaques forming in your arteries, but yet it's there. If you don't eat a clean diet, you are, especially if you have central obesity, you need to start looking at something that you actually can do to change that, because silently in the background, those blood vessels are getting more and more plaqued up with junk in the walls of those arteries. And one day, if one of those plaques breaks off, you can have a heart attack or a stroke. It's something that can be changed. And we have all the tools you need right at our office. So, other symptoms, we kind of talked about this already: extraintestinal symptoms, joint pain, anxiety, brain fog. Oh, that's so common. Cognitive and memory deficits, depression, even phlebitis, inflammation in your blood vessels, muscle aches, skin rashes, even seizures can be the result of just a terrible diet with lots of inflammation going everywhere. There's even syndromes in traditional medicine, one called PANDAS, where pediatric patients from strep infections can then get inflamed nervous system and have all kinds of weird things like tics, seizures, pain, lack of development. Those are things that we can help by treating the gut. So the gut-brain connection again here, we'll get back to that. A number of clinical studies now have demonstrated improvement in neurological function in patients with multiple sclerosis who were put on a gluten-free diet. More info in the book by Terry Walls, MD. It's called The Walls Protocol. Terry Walls was in a wheelchair. That's how bad her MS was. And you know what she did? She went on a paleo diet. And she is totally normal today. And now she's doing research and helping thousands of patients. She's just, a miracle herself. And she's a fantastic doctor. So, if her book does not motivate you to eat better, then read the book Good Energy, because that book is just mind blowing. The facts, the politics behind it, all of the things that are causing our food to be, unhealthy when you think it's healthy. Okay. Read that book and you're going to want to do something about it because it is in your control. Okay. So the connection is a leaky gut. That's the holes in the barrier leading to the absorption of these immune activating inflammatory substances. And we call this endotoxemia. Okay. Endotoxemia primarily occurs after the ingestion of foods high in sugar or fried foods or other caustic chemical or food substances. The intestinal immune system sees these items as foreigners and takes defensive action, turning up the dial on genes that control the production of inflammatory messengers. Okay, and then it can lead to all kinds of diseases, not just multiple sclerosis. And common leaky gut conditions not are just the things that I already talked about, but just things like acne. I can remember several cases in my practice over the last 25 years where a teenager had acne, some mild and some super severe, all over the body, all over the legs, arms, back, trunk, face, neck. And how did we get them better? We took them off their sensitive foods. We did a food sensitivity test, took them off all those foods, got them eating better, and voila, in a matter of months, they were so much better. But it affects all these other things too: aging, alcoholism. Why would leaky gut drive you to alcoholism? Well, if you feel terrible all the time, sometimes that's where certain people go. I wouldn't go there, but it happens. Ankylosing spondylitis, another autoimmune condition, celiac disease, eczema, cystic fibrosis is made worse by this. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, those are inflammatory bowel syndromes. Okay, so there's huge relationships, even with asthma. Okay, you wouldn't maybe think this, but when you study this stuff, it absolutely makes sense. So, common conditions associated with leaky gut syndrome, environmental illness, hyperactivity. Again, I've had so many children in my practice that we put them on a food allergy elimination diet, and amazing changes occur. They actually start responding to their occupational therapy or their teaching methods in school, things like that. I've had kids that couldn't talk start to talk. I've had kids that wouldn't sit down to read a book start reading whole Harry Potter books. Okay, I've seen it all. All right. Also, intestinal infections, liver dysfunction, fatty liver, as I mentioned before, the non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is on the rise. Autoimmune diseases like lupus, malabsorption, malnutrition, osteoarthritis. Okay, we can't reverse osteoarthritis per se. We do prolotherapy and PRP and other regenerative injections at our clinic, but let's prevent it. In those we can prevent it in, and then let's minimize the amount of arthritis we have as we age. And these things can cause mental issues too. Schizophrenia can be worsened, depression, anxiety, PTSD, et cetera, et cetera. So, what are we going to do about this? Well, we have a solution, the 4R program. This is a gut restoration program, and it's very fundamental. It's removing the offending substances from the diet, replacing digestive enzymes and digestive acid when necessary, re-inoculating the gut with good probiotics with diet and supplements, and repairing digestive mucosa integrity using the proper nutrients. And there's many, many choices. And sometimes a possible fifth R for relieving abdominal bloating, cramps, and other things with relaxing agents that are natural. So the first of the 4Rs, remove. So we're going to eliminate allergic substances or otherwise offending substances. Again, we're back to clean up the diet. Okay, pathogenic bacteria, fungi, yeast, parasites. Your healthcare provider, whoever you see at our office or some other office that does functional integrative medicine, they can decide if you need a Candida antibody blood test or if you do need a stool analysis to find out some of these things. All right, and then replace digestive acidifiers. So that might be betaine and pepsin, or pancreatic enzymes, or vegetable-based enzymes, or lipotropic support. That's things to help you digest fat and help the bile flow from your gallbladder work better and improve liver and gallbladder function. So the third of the 4Rs is re-inoculate. So we're talking about those good bacteria, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and your bifidobacteria, and all of the other lactobacilli and bifidobacteria that are present. The NCFM strain was one of the first strains that was found by the Metagenics company and basically trademarked. And there are many, many other good bacteria at this time. And now we know about prebiotics as well, all the different things we have listed here. But we have lots of probiotics for lots of different things. Reinoculating the gut microflora, yes, the probiotics, that could be the foods that I mentioned earlier, or it can be the actual supplements, and we have different ones for different things. And then prebiotics, that's your diet, fiber, polyphenols, fructooligosaccharides. Those are the things you're going to get from whole food, but sometimes they are supplied in supplements as well. So this is just a letter to the editor that some physician wrote many years ago in the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology, and he said, I started using probiotics, the NCFM strain, for those patients who were intractable to medical therapy. And after witnessing hundreds of patients substantially benefit, the pattern was clearly more than I could explain by placebo effect. Dr. Stephen Faber, MD. So in medicine, we've known these things for a long, long time, but the whole system of medicine is geared around pharmacology, pharmaceuticals and surgery and things like that. So that's why I do functional medicine, integrative medicine, which is looking at root cause. So lots of probiotic options at our office. We have Balanced Biotic, which is kind of like a basic maintenance, pretty high powered actually. Balanced Biotic 100, those are for those really, really bad cases of inflammatory bowel disease or IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and we just really need to get lots of good bacteria there fast. And then we have also some metagenic products, Ultraflora Balance for maintenance. Ultraflora Spectrum supports upper and lower GI and is a really good one, especially after like you've been on antibiotics or something like that. Ultraflora Women's Healthy Vaginal Microbiome. There is a microbiome there as well. Ultraflora Restore, that's for people that might get diarrhea and loose stools. Ultraflora acute care, that's Metagenics acute illness, the vacationer's diarrhea type thing. Take when you're taking antibiotics. And yes, you can do all of these when you're on antibiotics. I tell people you lose less ground if you do those probiotics right along with the antibiotics. Just try to take them a couple of hours apart. Ultraflora Synergy, that's daily support in sort of a power form. I think that's a powder. Yes, it's a powdered form. And Ultraflora Immune Booster, nasal, sinus, and respiratory immunity. And the Ultraflora Children's, this is a daily immune support, chewable, great flavor. My grandson loves it. And then we also have a Spore Biotic IG. It's similar to what's called Megaspore. Many of you have maybe found out about Megaspore. That's a great Spore Biotic as well, but the one I have is from Orthomolecular. We call it Spore Biotic IG, and it actually has immunoglobulins in it as well, which is really nice. So correct the diet, prevention of dysbiosis. So number one goal to start off is get off wheat and get off gluten, get off sugar, secondly, or maybe first. And maybe cow's milk, dairy as well. Some people in this situation cannot tolerate cow's milk. Maybe after we heal your gut, it might be better, especially the higher fat items. Remove the GMOs, especially corn and soy, and avoid soy and corn unless these are non-GMO or organic. Plant-based, high-fiber diet with adequate protein. Plant-based to me is not all plants. Some people like to do that. I like to have animal protein, but make sure that the animals that you're eating have eaten some plants too, and they aren't fed junk like GMO, soy, and corn. Also, fermented foods provide a really good supply of good bacteria. Crucifers, flavonoid-rich vegetables and fruits. Crucifers are like your broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. There's got to be one in there that you guys like. So vegetable cellulose, that's your insoluble fiber. Whey protein isolates can be really great. You can get these in just supplement form, or you can do whey protein. And definitely avoid the seed oils. They are just so terrible for you. The other day I was shopping and couldn't find only one or two crackers that didn't have seed oils in them. And then one of them didn't have seed oils, but had sugar in it. So, a lot of this prepared stuff is junk, and you guys just have to face the music just like I did. I've caught myself, with this stuff in my cupboard, and it's like, why do I have this? We all, make those mistakes, and now you're learning what you can do to change that. Okay, now why would I say add acidifiers, HCl, or what's known as betaine, HCl, and pepsin? Well, as we age, we produce less and less HCl and pepsin, betaine, HCl, and pepsin. As you can see in this graph, the dark line shows that every 10 years or so, you're losing more and more and more of that stomach acid. So then you're not digesting your food as well. It's a condition called hypochlorhydria. And this can include problems like infection, indigestion, bloating, heartburn. I'll look a little bit more here with you about what these things do. So low stomach acid, low pH of the intragastric environment constitutes one of the major non-specific defense mechanisms of the body. Basically, when stuff goes in your stomach, the acid there purifies it, okay? And when you have reduced gastric acid secretion, this predisposes you to infection with a variety of organisms that may be coming in with food, or you might be breathing in, or whatever. But this will occur in about 30% of older populations, pretty much most of us, after about 45 or 50, depending on how good or bad our diet is, we're going to have lower stomach acid. And then you could have more H. pylori infection. H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, is associated with stomach ulcers and stomach cancer. Okay, it's a very common condition today. We don't want that, so we're going to make sure your stomach acid is good. And it's associated with increased intestinal permeability. Again, leaky gut. That's another name for leaky gut. And decreased secretion of what's called intrinsic factor. It's a substance secreted by the stomach that enables the body to absorb B12. So you need that stomach acid. You don't want to stamp it out with these over-the-counter antacids. You need to get to the bottom of the problem What is causing your stomach problems? And I have lots of tricks. I've had so many people that have had this problem. I have a peptide that in two people in my practice that had 30-year reflux and could not live without their medication. I got them off of that with this peptide. So, but you still have to change your diet too, because if I give you the peptide, it's not going to work if your diet's not great. So we teach you all of that as well. So reflux and leaky gut syndrome, half of American adults have used antacids, the most common over-the-counter medication used by Americans. 75% of antacid consumption is by heavy users. Median duration of use by heavy users is 20 years. Averaged 2 to 6 doses a day, concentrated through the work week, often self-medication for heartburn and reflux. Can you see how this continued antacid use is not solving the problem? Okay, the problem is the underlying gut dysbiosis, the poor diet. You need to take time to take care of yourself, and we can help you change that. Functions of hydrochloric acid assist protein digestion. It protects against pathogens. It helps prevent bacteria and fungal overgrowth in the small intestine. It stimulates pancreatic enzyme and bile secretion. It facilitates absorption of minerals, folic acid, and a variety of other nutrients. It stimulates peristalsis. Peristalsis is the movement of your gut. Like one of the main causes of reflux is because your gut isn't moving things through like it should. That's why so many people that have reflux and heartburn also have constipation and or diarrhea or IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So you need these good stomach acids, and we can help you get back to making them the right way at the right time. So, treatment options, proton pump inhibitors may not be the preferred option, was the topic of this article. And basically, it's saying that these meds have a dramatic inhibitory effect on proton pump inhibitors, okay? And that's acid production, which you need. And so these drugs are just stamping out that acid, okay, and you might feel better, but then you might end up with small bowel bacterial overgrowth or other gut dysfunction. So here's a traditional paper talking about that. Now we have lots of digestive enzymes. I'll just run through these really quick. Superdigestime is really kind of like our flagship. It's got betaine with pepsin, and it's got pancreatic enzymes for stomach digestion and small intestine digestion, plus it has some bromelain. Digestimax has got lots of different enzymes in it, helps you break down lots of plant fiber and things like that, but it doesn't really have the betaine. So if you need Digestimax and you're over 45 or 50, probably are going to need some form of betaine HCl as well. Zypan is a very inexpensive low-dose betaine with pepsin for stomach digestion power. It's from the Standard Process Company. Betaine Plus is a product that it has the main stomach digestion with the pepsin and the betaine, but it has higher doses than our other formulas because some people need more. And then we just have vegetarian enzymes. These are pancreatic enzymes and enzymes in a vegetarian form. Again, you may need the betaine in addition to this. Lipogen, that is specifically designed for those without a gallbladder. It contains betaine, but also other nutrients to aid fat digestion. And then Colocol. Colocol, when a person does have a gallbladder, but maybe it's not working the greatest, or even sometimes when they don't have a gallbladder, we use this because it's purified bovine bile salts. So it sort of supports the gallbladder or replaces the gallbladder function if you don't have one. So repair is the fourth R. I spent a lot of time on the third R. But the fourth R, repair, we have lots of things, as you can see, to do that. One of my favorites is zinc carnosine. We'll talk about that in a second. It's totally different than your zinc picolinate that you take for the immune system. Deglycerized licorice. This is in our DGL product called DGL is deglycerized licorice, but it's also got aloe, slippery elm, marshmallow root in it. Then we have just plain aloe juice in a form that's really nice. It doesn't taste bad. It's fractionally distilled. Butyric acid, sometimes we use that to help heal the gut. Collagen peptides help. Bone broth helps. Ion biome, which we'll talk about a little bit later, helps. Ultra Clear Sustain is a product from Metagenics that sometimes we use. And L-glutamine powder, it's one of my favorites. We have probably 3 different types of this in our practice, with and without many other things. We have plain glutamine and then the souped up versions. And then SBI Protect, that's something to help kind of lap up all the inflammatory mediators and to help heal the gut. And then IgG Protect is similar in a capsular form. So here's our ion biome. It's unlike any other supplement on the market. It's made in the US. It's soil derived, it's scientifically backed, and it's a mineral supplement that has been shown in the lab and studies to strengthen the tight junctions in the gut wall, so help heal the gut lining, act as a firewall against toxins. It blocks things like glyphosate and other herbicides, pesticides, and petrochemicals and other chemicals that might be trying to enter the body through the gut. And then it builds and diversifies the microbiome by basically feeding it, okay? And they've measured this. It's scientifically proven to increase and diversify your microbiome. So zinc carnosine is the one I talked about earlier. Basically, it controls inflammation and stabilizes mucosal cells. It exerts a protective effect on the gastric lining because of its antioxidant effect, and it stabilizes the mucosal cell membranes, and it works as an anti-inflammatory in the gastric cells. And I think it works somewhat in the rest of the gut as well. But it's shown to be 3 times more effective than just zinc or carnosine alone. And it also makes your antacids work better to heal the gut. Let's say you do have an ulcer and you do have to take Pepcid or Prilosec or something. Well, if you take the zinc carnosine with it, you'll heal 60% faster. And here's a study: zinc carnosine shown safe and effective at reducing symptoms and the causes of dyspepsia, which is basically heartburn. So the clinical trials showed at a dose of 150 milligrams a day, endoscopically, so endoscope, they looked down there, confirmed healing, 64% after 8 weeks. This is a remarkable improvement in symptoms of indigestion and the healing itself, and it was 70% after 8 weeks. So no side effects, and this was a 691 subject study. You can look up the study there if you want. It was, let's see, the article was Applicability of Zinc Complex of L-Carnosine for Medical Use, Biochemistry from Moscow in 2000. So EPA and DHA, so why am I talking about fish oils here? Well, EPA and DHA are super important for healing and anti-inflammatory effects in the body. And most of us in our diets are getting way too many omega-6s and not enough of these omega-3s. And the omega-3s you need are EPA and DHA. Most people have some of the other ones, but they're almost always low in these two if they're not taking something or eating salmon at least 3 times a week. And these are long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids from fish mostly, but you can get them in other foods like walnuts and hemp and other seeds that we talked about earlier, chia seeds and whatnot. They're essential because humans are unable to make them, so they have to be obtained from the diet. And like I said, the average diet, it's at least 8 times higher in omega-6s than it is in omega-3s. And the 6s, not that you don't need any of them, but you're getting so many of them that they can be inflammatory. So we need those 3s to put out the fire. So change your oil, improve your health, get health benefits from improved cellular fat profile. So this is a picture of a cell, and those little gray dots all around the side of the cell are the bilipid layer that's outside of every single cell in your body. Doesn't matter if it's a liver cell, a lung cell, a eyeball cell, it doesn't matter. They all have cells that are lined on the outside with this bilipid layer. And then implanted in that bilipid layer are, channels for things going in and out, and receptors and signaling molecule docking stations and things like that. So, a diet rich in omega 3s improves response to signaling agents at your cells. And that's what it's all about. It's all electrical signals, protein signals, flipping the switch so that things can happen at the cellular level. Otherwise, the cell will die. So basically, omega 3s make everything work better at the cellular level, and it reduces inflammation potential and is beneficial to the brain and heart and blood vessels. And what kind of doses are we talking about here? Well, most adults, I tell them, if we don't measure them, 1 gram per day. So that's 1,000 milligrams per day. And if your product just says omega 3s and doesn't tell you how much EPA DHA, then throw it in the trash. And if it does say your EPA DHA and it's like 200 or 300, that's not enough. Okay, so now some people need more if they have an inflammatory condition like asthma or rheumatoid arthritis or something like that. They're going to need 2 or 3 grams. But and then we can measure this too. There is a test called the Omega Check. You can have your doctor run it. Any traditional doctor can run that test at Quest, LabCorp, your hospital lab. You know, anybody can do this test. It's just a traditional test to see how many omega 3s you have. And then all the way down to children. Children need somewhere between 100 and 600 milligrams per day. We have these nice little packets that are sweetened with stevia. They taste like an orange creamsicle. Sometimes I even take them. They're 600 milligrams a packet, and the kids love them. But you can also teach your children to take fish oils, and they really should use them. And all pregnant women should be on them as well. And I could tell you about 100 studies of mental health, studies about Army um, soldiers being fed meals high in EPA, DHA, omega 3s, because they know it helps their mental health. They've studied it. It's a known fact. So you need these things. And if you aren't eating a lot of fish, clean fish, good fish with omega 3s, then you definitely need to take them. Even if you think you're getting enough, just get the test. It'll tell you if you're getting enough or not. All right, and you want to make sure that when you do get an omega-3 product that it's tested for purity and guaranteed to meet EPA DHA level claims. So any product should be third-party purity certified to be free of mercury, lead, dioxins, PCBs, yeast, mold, and bacteria. So that's something you can call the company or write the company or email the company that your product comes from and ask them, can they prove this to you? Do they have an assay, a, a piece of paper that says, yeah, we tested this in our lab, or a third party came in and tested this in our lab and we do it all the time? They should be doing it regularly. All right, and then another thing you can do for your gut, if all of this is just too much and you are just addicted to M&Ms or something, start with a mini detox program. You can do 10 days, you can do 21 days. We have a brand new, just started this month, our new detox boot camp. And our nurse, Christina, is heading that, and she's running Zoom meetings with the groups to teach them all about why do you want to do this and how do you do it. And she's there to support you the whole way. And it comes as a whole package. You get the kit, you get all the supplements you need, and then all you have to do is apply the diet, and it tells you exactly what to eat. So we use Ultra Clear Plus or Ultra Clear Renew. These are pea protein or pea and rice protein or just rice protein based. So they're usually pretty low allergenicity. And it contains liver support and detoxifiers to bind chemicals and even some heavy metal toxins. I wouldn't use it as my whole heavy metal detox, but I do this twice a year, and I think everybody should too. I mean, we just live in a world that's very, very, very toxic. There's just no way you can get away from it. And all of us, even, me doing this for years and years, I make mistakes with my diet. I eat in a restaurant, or I eat at a conference, or I buy things I shouldn't occasionally. I do my best, but, we're all humans. So basically, detoxifying is a way to just clean up the body and keep it healthy despite some of these dangers. And it's up to you. The the you know industries that make the foods that have all the toxins in them aren't going to tell you to do this. But it's real. It's a real danger. And again, read that book, A Good Energy by Casey and Kelly Means, so that you can learn the truth of it. But this is a very easy detox. I prefer the 21 day because you do the product daily, and you work up to the full 2 scoops, and one canister kind of gets you through the whole thing. Some people like to charge through it and do a 10-day detox, and that's fine. If you want to do that, it's a little more intense, a few more dietary restrictions. But if you're short on time and you want to just make a run for it, go for it and do the 10-day program. We call that the Clear Change program. But yeah, do this at least twice a year, and this is a good place to start if you're not sure where to start. And you don't need to be a patient to do this. You can just sign up for the boot camp, or by calling our office 616-550, or I'm sorry, 616-301-0808, and sign up for it. Or you can also email us on our website. All right, so holistic and integrative support. Of course, we want to eat to live. Food is fuel. We don't want to just live to eat. Too many of us are addicted to foods, and I've had to pull myself away from a lot of those too. And it's sometimes very hard. Once you're stuck and addicted, but you got to work at it, and you got to realize that these are molecules of energy, and you're making a new you every few days or every month. There's a new part of your body being formed because the old cells are going out and new cells are being formed. That's the beauty of it, is you can make a whole new body in just a few months. So eat to live, don't live to eat. And eliminate processed foods and drinks, as we said, sugary drinks, sugar, anything white, and gluten from our modern wheat. Reduce anything made from flour. Read the book Good Energy by Casey Means, MD, and Kelly Means, JD. Drink water, purified, 50 to 80 ounces per day. Detox twice per year for maintenance. Exercise several days per week. Targeted supplementation. Decrease stress levels. And yes, don't forget, you have to laugh as much as possible, because that makes all of this bearable and makes it fun. But we're here to help you. You may need other things. You may need the stool analysis, or you may need the food sensitivity testing, or some other specialty testing that we do to try to get to the root cause of why you don't feel well, why you are not living your best life. And you should be able to do that. We should be able to live a long, healthy, wonderful life. All of us should be living in a blue zone. A blue zone is where the majority of people live, to 100 or more. And that is totally possible. We just have to do the things to take care of ourselves. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. And if you want to leave any comments or questions below, this is pre-recorded, but we will answer them within 1 to 2 business days. And if you'd like a PDF of this presentation and any others, with more facts and scientific data, you can see the link on our Facebook page or YouTube for this presentation. So you can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram, and you can message us, you can call us at the Natural Health Improvement Center in Granville, Michigan, if you'd like more information, or if you do want to become a patient. So thank you very much for listening to me tonight, and I hope you are on your journey to better health and wellness. Take care. Bye-bye.